Hello and welcome to the Cozy Colorful Corner. My name is Chelsea and today I'm making this gorgeous silk top. Previously I've made a silk wrap skirt. Be sure to check out that video below. I always knew I wanted to make it into a set, so I made sure to leave some leftover fabric to make this top. When I made the silk wrap skirt, I was quite sure of the shape and the direction I wanted to go with that, so that's quite a very straightforward video to watch. This video is more like me playing around with fabric and draping it on my mannequin and just experimenting to see what shapes I like. Originally I wanted to make this top on the bias, but I didn't really have enough fabric when I turned it this way, so it ended up just laying straight on the grain, but it still has this really nice cowl drape depending on how I tie it. Currently I just have it tied in the back, and that creates a front cowl and a back cowl. You can also scrunch it up on the sides, which gives it more of a ruffly feel. Personally, one of my favorite ways to wear it is do a one shoulder. Here's the one shoulder look with one side scrunched up. With how versatile and how soft and drapey it is, it turned out just perfectly. Stay to the end of the video to see how I paired it with the skirt that I made previously. I really love this set together and I think it will be perfect for this year's summer weddings. I'm also adding this to my ballet core series because of how flowy and soft it is. If you watched my spring ballet core planning video, I explained that not all the outfits in this playlist are meant for actually doing ballet, but they're more inspired by the aesthetic of ballet. But definitely check out more of that video if you want to see my explanation of ballet core. I'll link that video and the playlist down below. First, I'm cutting my remaining fabric in half so I have enough for the front and back. Then I marked a straight line for center front and center back. This will help me when I'm draping it on the mannequin. And then I'm just going to play around with the shape for a bit. With the shoulder seam together, I really liked how this cowl was forming. First, I'm going to hem the top edge of the fabric. I'm going to hem both separately and then I'm going to join the shoulders together. I have this rolled presser foot. I'm still getting the hang of it, but I decided I could use the practice. This foot can work well with lightweight fabric such as chiffon and silk. Before I run it through though, I'm just going to get rid of this fuzzy selvage. When I looked up tutorials for how to do this, I saw somebody clipped the edge and then fed it through the machine, and that seemed to work pretty well, so I'm going to try that here. Now I'm just going to go very slow and feed that in. I was stopping to check the other side a lot to see if it rolled correctly. And it turned out really well. I also think this is because I used it on a straight edge. In the past when I used this foot, I was using it on a curved hem and it was not catching correctly. So for curved hems, I'm going to stick to the baby hem method. After hemming the top of my rectangles, I'm joining the shoulder seams together. And then I put it back on the mannequin to see where those shoulders lay. I like the length of it on my arm, so I'm going to hem up the sides of the rectangle as well. First I ran a long length stitch, about a ½ inch, just to use as a guide for when I press it and fold it again. I bought this box of just multicolor thread quite a while ago, but every time I use it, thread tension is so weird. No matter what adjustments I make to my machine, it doesn't seem to work quite well. So the first day I was making this, I struggled quite a lot with the tension for everything. Because I was using a long stitch here, it's gathering because the tension is too tight, but luckily I was able to smooth it out, and anyways, it's just a guide seam. I did finally decide to buy some new thread, but it didn't come till the next day, so I'm just struggling for now. Then I folded it over twice and pressed it and sewed the final stitch at just under ½ inch. Because of the tension issues, I did have to unpick quite a bit, but for your sanity, I've edited those out. And here's the final hem. At the shoulders, I wanted to be able to do some ruching, so I'm creating a channel with this bias tape. At the edges of the bias tape, I'm just folding it over once and giving that a quick tack. This will prevent it from fraying later. Then I attach it to the inside, right on that shoulder seam. I'm stitching it from the right side because that's where I have better tension. I'm sewing a 1/4 inch away from that center seam. I'm going slow and making sure I remove all the pins. I probably should have used more pins, but I was feeling quite lazy, and luckily it did catch on the back side, so I'm not going to redo it. The first stitch I did was to the right of the center shoulder seam, so now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch onto the left side. Here you can see the bias tape from the underside. You can see my tension was all sorts of everywhere, but luckily it did catch and it is good enough. It's not going to be seen from the outside. Then I do the same thing to the other side. Next, I'm going to sew up the ribbons. I cut these strips and I folded them in half. Then on the folded edge, I am sewing 1/2 inch. I'm sewing this on the next day when my new thread had come, and the tension is so beautiful. No more struggling. I really don't know why I can't get that other thread to work. Then I'm cutting about a 1/4 inch away from that seam, and next I need to turn it out. In my opinion, I think there are very few sewing tools that I've really bought that have changed my sewing game, but this little metal turner is one of them. So I just thread that through the inside, and it has this little hook where I can catch the fabric and then turn it inside out. I'm really super impressed by how fast this helps. Then I'm going to cut off the raw edge and use my scissors to turn it in a little bit. Then I'm just going to hand stitch it down. And look how clean that looks. I hand sewed one side of the ribbon, but then realized I should probably thread it through the channel first, just in case the safety pin made a hole. So I take the safety pin, and I'm just using that to help thread that through. I'm just realizing now I probably could have used my turner here as well, but this worked good enough. Once I got that through, then I hand sewed the other side. Now I need to decide the shape for the side seam. I laid my fabric on the floor and folded it in half. This way I could get an even cut for both side seams. I wanted this top to be more billowy and not quite fitted to my waist, so I took my hip measurement, added an inch of ease, and then divided it in half. That's the measurement I used to mark the bottom of the shirt. From here I just eyeballed it and I gave it kind of a dolman sleeve shape and cut that out. I'm going to use a French seam on this side seam because I think it looks really good with lightweight fabrics such as silk. To do a French seam, first I'm putting wrong sides together and sewing at about 1/2 inch. If you want a thinner seam, you could also use a 1/4 inch. Then I'm going to trim it off, fold right sides together, and I'm using a 1/2 inch seam again. You can also use your iron and press the seam before you sew it to make it look even more professional. In retrospect, I probably should have sewn the side seam first before I hemmed the sleeve, but this is not a perfect sewing tutorial, I'm just playing around. To make the side seam lay flat in the sleeves, I'm just going to tack it down facing the back. Then the last major thing I needed to do was hem the bottom. Different from when I hemmed the sleeve, I'm actually doing another stitch. So I did a long guide stitch, folded that over, did another stitch, cut the frayed excess, then folded it over one final time and stitched that. And here she is, all beautiful and finished. I made this set so I can wear it to fancier events. I realized I didn't have a lot of cute fancy clothes, so I'll be wearing this as a wedding guest outfit, also when I go to view ballets, and any other fancy events that require it. I like that it's a set because then I can pair it with other things. I've also paired the top with the pants. I'm still in love with this Pinterest photo as well, with the blue silk skirt and a sweater. So my next fancy event, I'll definitely take pictures and upload them. You can follow my socials down below as well. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun playing around with this fabric and seeing what it would turn into at the end. Make sure you subscribe so that your seams never rip, and I'll see you in the next one.